Hello, welcome back to LK Tuition. Today we're going to be looking at factors and multiples. So let's get cracking. So the first thing we're going to look at what are multiples, and multiples are basically a multiple of a number is anything in that number's times table. So for instance, if I wanted to find multiples of 3, I would just go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, blah blah blah. They are all multiples of 3. And me saying blah 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 means that they can go on forever. So there are going to be infinitely many multiples of each number. Okay, so other examples might be multiples of 5 would be 5, 10, 15, 20. Multiples of 11 would be 11, 22, 33, 44, and so on. Okay, so let's just do a few questions involving multiples. Number 1 says write down a multiple of 5. So it's not very specific. As long as it's in the 5 times table, it's absolutely fine. So let's go for a random number. Let's go for 25. But yeah, anything in the 5 times table would be correct. Number 2, what are the first 3 multiples of 7? Now this has been a bit more specific. It wants the first 3 multiples. Now the first multiple of 7 is just 7. So we're just looking for the first 3 numbers in its times table. So the first one is 7. Then if you keep going with the times table, the next one would be 14. And the next one would be 21. And those are the first 3 multiples of 7. Okay, and finally question 3. What is the next multiple of 10 after 80? Okay, so this is imagining the times table, the 10 times table. We get to 80. What would the next multiple be? Well, after 80 would be 90. So that is the next multiple of 10 after 80. Okay, so that is basically multiples, that numbers times table. So let's look at a related thing, which is factors. Now factors is kind of the other way around. So a factor of a number is anything that can be multiplied to make that number. So if you think of multiples as that numbers times table, think of a factor as, well, what times table does this number feature in? Okay, so for example, we'll think about the factors of 12. So to find the factors of 12, we just want to think about all the numbers that can be multiplied together to make 12. So here we've got 1 times 12, and they'll come in, let's call them what they are, they'll come in what are called factor pairs. So pairs of numbers that times together. So we've got 1 times 12, another pair of numbers that times to make 12 would be 2 times 6. And I think there's one more, which is 3 times 4. So those are all of my factor pairs, and we just write them in a list. So the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Okay, so the one that people always tend to forget, can I use a highlighter? Oh, this is exciting. Is this one. So people always forget that you can times 1 and the number itself, and that is a factor pair as well. I'm excited I've used a highlighter. Right, let's have a look at some questions. Okay, so the first question says write down all the factors of 18. Now, you can just kind of guess what numbers times together, but I tend to do a bit more of a systematic way, so I always start with 1. Because that's always going to be a factor. So 1 times 18. And then, because I started at 1, I'll think about 2. Does 2 go into 18? Definitely does. It's 2 times 9. Then I think, does 3 go into 18? It does. It's 3 times 6. Then I think, does 4 go into 18? No, it doesn't. Does 5? No, it doesn't. And then I'm at 6. And because I've reached kind of the right hand side, I know that I've covered every possible factor. So these are my factor pairs. So let's just write that down again. But we want to write down all the factors. So let's just write them again as a list. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. Those are all my factors of 18. Okay, number 2, write down a number that is a factor of 24 and 15. Okay, so I could write out my factors, I could just think about it, but let's write out the factors. So if I think about 24, I'm just going to write them straight away. We've got 1 and 24, we've got 2 and 12, we've got 3 and 8, I want to have not given myself enough space, but we've also got 4 and 6. So there's a lot of options for 24. Those are all the factors of that. And then let's grab a different colour for 15. So the factors of 15 are going to be 1, 15, 2 doesn't go into 15, but 3 does, and it's 3 times 5. Okay, so we just want a common factor. So there's a couple that we could look at. I'll use my highlighter again, why not? Can I do a different colour? Maybe not. No, it's just yellow. All right, so we've got 1 in both, so that's a common one. And we've also got, oh, there we go, we've got 3 as well. So that was a bad choice of colour for the highlighter, but so you could either do 1 or 3. Those are the 2 options. Okay, number 3, which number is a factor of every other number? Okay, well, you'll have noticed it's been cropping up in every question, but the number 1 always goes into every number. So which number is a factor of every other number? It is the number 1. Okay, and finally, let's just have a look at a mixed example. So this is kind of what a typical exam question might look like. So it says here is a list of numbers. So we've got 5, 8, 14, 27, 40, 56 and 100. Part A says, write down a number on the list that is a multiple of 9. So again, I'll give you a chance. I forget to do this, but pause the video, have a go, and then replay, and we'll look at the answers. Okay, part A, write down a number on the list that is a multiple of 9. Well, I've noticed that 27 is 9 times 3. So 27 is definitely a multiple of 9. Part B says, write down a number on the list that is a factor of 28. So I'm looking at a number that will times with something else to get 28. And I'm noticing that 14 times 2 would give me 28. So 14 is a factor of 28. Part C, write down a number on the list that is a multiple of both 5 and 8. Okay, so we're thinking what's in the 5 times table and the 8 times table. Well, I think the only number that satisfies that is 40, because 40 is actually 5 times 8. So that is that. Part D, we want to write down a number on the list that is a factor of both 40 and 100. So a number that can be times to make 40 and 100, well, they're both in the 10 times table. So they're both definitely in the 5 times table, yeah, because 5 times 8 makes 40. And also we've got that 5 times 20 makes 100. So a factor of both 40 and 100 would be 5. And that is the number 5. Okay. And number E, or letter E, which number on the list has only 2 factors? Okay, well actually this is just 5 again, because if you think about the factors of 5, you just get 1 times 5. So a number on the list that has only 2 factors is 5. And we'll find out in another video, spoiler alert, that a number with only 2 factors is called a prime number, and we'll do more about that in another video. Okay, so I hope we're happy with that. So just a quick recap then. So a multiple of a number is anything in that numbers times table, and a factor is anything that can be times to make that number. Okay, hope you've enjoyed the video. This has been LK Tuition. Please like and subscribe, and we'll have more maths videos soon.